There may be some bad news for Republicans ahead of the midterm elections, now just 10 months away.
Over the weekend, Texas held a special election runoff for its 9th Senate district. And in a stunning upset, the Democratic candidate, Taylor Rehmet, defeated his Trump-endorsed opponent in a district that swung to Trump by a whopping 17 points in 2024. And he didn't just scrape by either. According to Decision Desk HQ, Rehmet trounced his opponent by nearly 15%. And some are taking this as an omen for Republicans heading into the midterms. Even President Trump seems to be concerned about a possible blue wave in November. Here he is speaking to conservative host Will Cain last week.
Presidents, whether it's Republican or Democrat, when they win, it doesn't make any difference. They seem to lose the midterm. So that's the only thing I worry about. I said, why? There's some psychological factor out there.
What do you think that is?
But I think it's like 2 in more than 50 years. Well, I don't know. Maybe they want to put up a guard fence. Maybe you just don't know. It doesn't make sense. Even if a president did well, they seem to lose the midterms. But hopefully we're going to change that around.
Now, if that isn't concerning enough for Republicans, a Fox News poll from last week showed that 52% of voters say they would support the Democratic candidate in their House district. Just 46% said they would vote for the Republican candidate.
But some Republicans are taking Trump's warning as a rallying cry. Republican strategist Ford O'Connell told The Hill, quote, he's trying to bring something to people's minds that they're not traditionally thinking about. A party gets comfortable when their person is in the White House, and they don't often recognize how fired up the other side may be. According to that same Fox News poll, there may be something to O'Connell's theory there. 82% of Democrats told Fox they feel inclined to vote this year, compared to 76% of Republicans and 61% of independents. These are warning signs, obviously, but this had all indications this would go badly, this election for Republicans. It's an not just off year, but off scheduled election, where it's going to be decided by the highly motivated people who turn out. That favors Democrats just generally at this point, and also, of course, in this specific moment where Democrats are fired up and liberals are angry and furious about everything Trump is doing. They're fired up. Trump's coalition doesn't show up unless Trump himself is on the ballot. Trump's coalition is now more working class people who got to get to a job,
So they can't vote.
Well, yeah, it's the Democrats are the more affluent constituency at this point. They can and more determined. They're watching MSNBC or MS Now,
the Grammys,
and CNN and the Grammys, and they're being reminded, oh my God, Trump is sending fascism into America. You got to turn out in the special election, and they're cognizant of doing that. None of that is an excuse. Republicans have not figured out how to cancel out that enthusiasm gap, how to get the new coalition to the polls, even without Trump himself, because Trump is not going to be on the ballot ever again. So they got to figure that out.
So there could be an argument that Democrats are more motivated, but I'm sure in this county, Democrats have been more motivated in, whatever was going on with George Bush or whomever, because it hasn't turned Democrats since the 80s. And that's according to CNN. And I think this is the first time that the Democrats have turned Tarrant County in that time. It's a largely Christian population. So supposedly that's supposed to be the Republican.
The demographics of it may have changed since the. I have no.
Well, it's also home to nearly 1 million people, and so when you think about this is a state senate. When you think about regular congressional districts, they represent usually around an average of 800,000 people. So the fact that 1 million people, I don't care about voter apathy, still a state senate race that represented 1 million people voted Democratic in red Texas, and then we're still having that conversation about whether Texas could ever be more blue than it could be. I mean, this is the swaying of a state that usually Republicans are extremely comfortable in. It's no purpleness. It's like Texas has been red through and through in most races for a while. And so I think this should be concerning. It also is an important statement to note that President Trump did get involved. I know he doesn't like to lose, but he did get on X and write several tweets for the competitor, the Republican challenger, and said, you need to save this election. You need to vote for him. And still Rehmet won over him. So the president really is pretending like he didn't do that, even though people have pulled up the Truth Social statements that he wrote. So this is really, the president did get involved, and his name holds that much weight. I think it should have helped him win the election, right?
Yeah.
Usually when he gets involved, it sways an election, particularly in Texas. And because it's not, it might be a sign that people might be a little bit fed up. It's not only about voter apathy. I mean, people could just be frustrated.
Yeah, don't mistake me for saying that like Texas is unwinnable or something for the Democrats and on the national level. They have the Senate race is going to be very interesting. If the Republican is Ken Paxton, so there's interesting drama on both primaries. Ken Paxton is the more beloved by MAGA incendiary figure, is going to be less electable generally in the general election because he has all these scandals and even feuds with other Republicans. But there are many, many examples of Republican primary voters choosing the less electable candidate. Look at what happens to them over and over again in Arizona. They've lost so many statewide races in Arizona by having candidates that are too far to the right for that state. It's a red-leaning state, but it's not going to elect Carrie. I don't know how many times she has to learn the lesson. It's not going to elect Carrie Lake. On the Democratic side in Texas, you have this Jasmine Crockett versus James Tallarico.
My girl.
Which seems
James
to be
Tallarico's a good guy also.
Clearly to be a case of someone who would struggle to win at the statewide level versus someone who seems very compelling and has a lot going for him.
Texas is rare in the fact that I think half of the state usually doesn't vote in most elections in Texas, especially the national elections. And so that's a big deal. Jasmine is betting on the fact, and she said this herself on The View, that she can get those apathetic voters out to vote. A lot of those people might be people of color, and she's representing the people that are now fired up by everything that's happening with ICE, everything that's happening with the economy that's not fixed. She can get those people who, like you said, don't have the capacity to take off work to take a minute to go to the 8 o'clock voting opportunity or when the polls close late and go vote in her state election. So, it's not like there's no chance in the world. So I think this is an indicating factor that even if it's her or Tallarico, the point is a Democrat could win there. And it's seeing the finish line in that case is not that crazy.
I mean, anything can happen anywhere. It's like it's not these elections aren't 90-10, right? They're 55-45. Like, we're a closely divided country. Either side can win and does win periodically. So nothing is out of the realm of possibility. Could Jasmine Crockett get elected to statewide office in Texas? It could happen. Do I think it is a likely? Oh, it would delight me. I'd be rooting for it. I want her as the national face of the Democratic Party. I want to be discussing her every day. I love Princess Jasmine.
I like that name for her. She is a princess.
Up next, President Trump's threatening to sue host Trevor Noah over an Epstein joke that he made at the Grammy Awards. We'll be right back after this.